Breaking news, breaking news. This is not a drill, folks. Sound the Earl Thomas alarm. This is not a drill. It's about an hour and a half into the workday here. And when I got into work this morning, I logged on, looked around, and I heard it is official. Earl Thomas, after a long holdout, has reported to the Seahawks, ready to play Week 1 against the Broncos, ready to give it his all to the 2018 Seattle Seahawks, and at the end of the year become a free agent. We'll see what happens. So, a lot of different ways to interpret this, a lot of different ways to look at it. I just had to step outside, step into my car, and talk about a little bit, because there's a lot to unpack. I'm not going to be able to do it all in one video, but I'm going to do the best I can. So, first of all, I want to say I really, really appreciate and like the way that the front office handled this. We didn't give in on either front, and we certainly could have. We could have taken the third-round pick from the Cowboys. I mean, this morning we could have taken the second-round pick from the Cowboys, which I would have been okay with. I mean, I wouldn't have been happy, but I wouldn't have been, like, sad. I wouldn't have felt ripped off. I would have been like, all right, we got a second-round pick for a declining, aging free safety who still plays at a Pro Bowl level. I can deal. It's not anything to celebrate, but I'm okay. So we turned that down, and we also turned down Earl's demands for a new contract because I see a lot of people on Twitter, some Seahawks fans who I respect, saying we should pay the guy his money. We've done this third contract thing a few times now, and it bites us in the ass every time. We're going to pay Cam Chancellor millions of dollars this year and next year to sit at home because we gave him a third contract, and after 8 games, his career was over. Michael Bennett, we gave him a third contract, and within half a year, I wanted him out of Seattle because he couldn't stay healthy, and he was just not playing well. Now, Earl, maybe Earl's different. It does happen, but I didn't want to give him $60 million and then watch him probably get to a point where he just wasn't an effective player anymore in, 2 years. Why would we do that again? I mean, these are just players, guys. I know we like these players, but don't fall in love with any one player. The players move on. The players retire. The players play for other teams. Don't fall in love with these guys, okay? Don't let your affection for a player or two blind you to what is best for the team. So I really like the way the front office played it. They said, we're only going to trade you if a team overwhelms us. I mean, I heard a rumor that we were asking for a first-round pick, a third-round pick, and a player. And look, if there's a team out there that wants to offer that much for Earl Thomas, then nobody, no Seahawks fan, we can't turn that down. We literally couldn't refuse that offer. So if a team wants to do that, good for them. But we decided, no, we're not going to take anything less than, first-round pick value for our future Hall of Fame free safety. And we also decided, no, we're not going to pay you when you're going to turn 30 years old next year and you've already been hurt a few times and you've missed 7 games over the last 2 seasons. You're under contract for 1 more year. Play for us for 1 more year, or, go pound rocks. So, shout out to the front office. I like the way they handled it. Now, somewhere in there I mentioned the Cowboys reportedly offered up a second-round pick for Earl this morning, and we turned them down. So that's kind of going to be the focal point of the conversation going forward. How that second-round pick's value matches up to whatever Earl is going to be for us this season. Because I think at this point, everyone kind of expects Earl is going to leave the Seattle Seahawks next year. Unless we franchise tag him, or if he plays really well and we're like, okay, here's $60 million, which, I mean, we'll cross that bridge if we ever get to it. I certainly wouldn't be crazy about that, but here's the thing. 1 year of a Pro Bowl safety, one of the best safeties in football, maybe the best safety in the league still. It depends on how you feel about, like, Harrison Smith and shit, right? versus a second round draft pick, a, you know, cheap labor for, you know, a few years. It's actually kind of close when you think about it. I mean, there's some stuff we're discounting in there, right? Like, we're discounting the fact that, you know, like I said, Earl could have a monster season and then we give him his money and then he has 5 more monster seasons. I mean, stranger shit does happen. And then obviously would be like, oh, thank God we didn't take that second round pick. But when you're talking about guys' second round picks, it's close, right? Because over the last 10 years, I can think of second round picks like Frank Clark, Tyler Lockett, Bobby Wagner. Really good, really talented players. It looks like I think Shaquille Griffin was a second round pick. He looks like he's headed in that direction. I can also think of guys like Malik McDowell, who never played any football for us. Christian Michael, disappointment. Yeah, I think Jermaine Ifedi was he a high second round pick or a late first round pick? I can think of plenty of second round picks who, you know, had no impact on the team. So I'll say this: the margin between getting that second round pick and getting Earl for 1 more year is thin. But personally, if I had to choose between those two things, I think I would rather have Earl for 1 more year, because I think this team has the opportunity to at least put together a decent season. I think we can win 10 games if things go our way. I think we can, you know, make the playoffs if 10 wins ends up being enough. I think we could get into the playoffs maybe with 9 wins if things really go our way, but that's not very likely. So if Earl Thomas ends up being the difference between a couple of wins this year, which he is a good enough player to be the difference between, you know, 7 wins and 9 wins, or 8 wins and 10 wins, I believe that, especially given who's backing him up, then I think it's worth it. Because, one, Earl's just done so much for this team, and I've seen how good he can be, that I feel like if he's out there, our defense has the ability to play at a really high level and might sneak up and surprise some people in December and January. So I'm not saying that I think this team is going to compete for a Super Bowl this year. I really don't think it's likely, but I just see 1 more year of Earl Thomas as giving us at least another shot at biting the apple of it, you know? Whereas, you know, I don't know what that second round pick gives us. So I like the way this turned out. This is the best case scenario for me. Did not want to give him a bunch of money. Did not want to trade him for a 3rd round pick. 2nd round pick, you can kind of talk me into it, but I think I like the way this played out. So how do you feel about Earl? I'm happy. Today, for me, as a Seahawks fan, pretty good day. All right, I'm going to head back in. But how do you guys feel?